Do you admire successful cultures? Do you look at certain teams, organizations, and wonder why they continue to win no matter what over decades? Then, if you are that person, and I'm one of those people that is a culture nerd, The Culture Code by Daniel Coyle is definitely a book you need to read. It's the secrets of highly successful people. And so what I really liked about this book was given to me by Lauren Hawkins and Bree Williams, who worked at the University of Kansas football team. They knew me, they knew I liked culture, and it literally took me like 3 years. I finally was like, let me read this book. And I opened it up, I couldn't put it down. It was an incredible book. And here are my 3 takeaways. Takeaway number 1, the author noticed with these successful cultures, he noticed they were in close proximity with each other. That they were close, there was a closeness, there weren't many physical barriers. He talked about, this one company, I think it was Zappos, they literally moved everything outside. They call this thing bumps. Like they wanted to make intentional bumps to where people like necessarily physically bump, but they had to bump into each other as they went about their way. They literally created the office to make it to where you had to be around people. You had to cross with people. I think one of the craziest stories I heard was when Disney and Pixar got together. When Pixar came in, they noticed that Disney had this level right here was like the directors, I believe, and the creative people up here. What they did was they opened it up and everybody was on the same floor, and the creativity came where they had a long run of great movies. And so that proximity, that opportunity for people to bump not only created more teamwork, but you start seeing different thoughts, different ideas, more creativity, because now you get to know people, more ideas are being shot, which I'll talk about later. He noticed in every successful culture, be it the Spurs, Zappos, Pixar, that this was the case. Number 2 takeaway was vulnerability and mastery of communication. Now, with mastery of communication, he talked about these cultures had like really like short phrases, how they did things. The study he talked about was like, there were like, I think kindergartners, first graders going against like these rocket scientists, I believe, and they were doing like this thing with spaghetti and marshmallows to build a tower, and the kindergartners beat them, or the school children beat them because they had short phrases. They knew what to do. They just kept it moving. Do this, do this, do this, instead of long phrases. So there was like this mastery of short communication. But inside of that, and before I move on, he talked about this with robbers. There was like these successful robbers. There's a movie I forgot, but there was these successful robbers that literally just robbed a lot of places. And when they broke it down, they just had this mastery of how they communicate. It was short, it was quick, everything was open, but it worked like for them. And stealing, I don't advocate stealing, but that culture, it worked for them. The other thing inside of that was vulnerability in communication. So he talked about a story about a army, someone in the army, I don't know what rank they were. They had to go drop off this whatever at this place. I believe it was I believe they were overseas. It's American Army. I believe they were in the Middle East. They had to go drop off something somewhere. One of the lower ranking officials said to a higher official, hey, we probably just need to stay here for the night. And the higher official was like, no, we're going to go back. We need to go back. And he was like, I just don't think we should go back. So they go back because the higher official wins by rank, right? And they actually got their tires shot up, and they were shot up and they were held at hostage. And the guy was like, he didn't know why the people didn't kill him. They thought they were going to die, but they were held hostage and they made it back. And he said, and they did a study on the groups that guy who made the suggestion led, and his groups were always great. I can't remember what specific group it was. I want to say it was the Navy SEALs, but his group was the most successful group because he would ask questions. What do y'all think about this? Going back to his experience of not having an opportunity to be vulnerable and communicate, he asked questions. What do y'all think about this? What is this? He put them in situations. There was one situation when they were doing, I believe it was one operation where he told, I think it was up to like the president, Secretary of State. He was like, hey, we don't need to do this. This is not going to work. This is not going to work. They were like, you're going to do it. You got to do it. But what happened was he had already trained his guys for every situation because he talked to his guys after, they have this thing that really every culture in this book has is after action reports. And they would talk about, areas where they get better. So they practice everything. So even when they got the order that he felt was not great, they were prepared because of this communication between They're the higher ranking official and those under his influence. So that goes back to this, what I said, the second takeaway. It's just a vulnerability and a mastery of communication. So even with those short phrases, even with communicating with back and forth, there's a vulnerability there. That was the second takeaway. And then the third thing was a study by Amy Edmondson. And this was about real-time signals around the purpose of work. And so people were given real time. This is your situation. This is how you're going to do it. This is what I need you to do. And this is why it's important. It broke down the framing. They framed things for people. This is what's going to happen. They gave roles. They rehearsed. There was explicit encouragement to speak up. So speak up. And the last one, they always did an active or after reflection. And so there was these real-time signals where people felt value in this. They felt value because of these opportunities. This happened. They did a study. It was some study. It was like a medical study where there was like this surgery, and they looked at these doctors that had all the equipment you could have, and they were, top flight doctors, all the degrees, all of that. And they looked at doctors that, may not have had the experience or the equipment. And the difference was the framing. The person who led the doctors who may not have the equipment frame that you get to help our patients. You're helping our patients get better. So they were better at this new operation instead of those who had the degrees and everything, because that leader framed it as, hey, it's this new operation. There was no connection there. And so talked about the real-time signals around the purpose of work. And so that was my 3 takeaways. There's a lot in this book. I had to come down to 3. I don't want to give you too much, but this book is really good. That framing I talked to y'all about, when I have discussions with my team from here on out, I'm going to literally write it out, type it out. I'm framing what we're doing. Here's the roles. Let's rehearse it. Explicit encouragement to speak up and active reflection. I just think this book is really, really good. I'm so glad I read it. Daniel Coyle, thank you so much for this book here. I actually have another Daniel Coyle book, which I'm going to read. It's the Little Book of Talent, 52 Tips for Improving Skills. So I'll be reading this one, Ms. Coyle. Thank you so much for reading. Thank y'all for checking out Read by Ed. Check out these videos here for more. Have a great day.